What if I told you that a small, silver-colored dollar coin from 1979, something people once ignored in pocket change, could secretly be worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars today? Yes, the Susan B. Anthony dollar, a coin many thought was worthless, is now turning heads across the world. Hidden minting mistakes, rare die varieties, and untouched conditions have transformed these ordinary coins into treasures collectors are desperately chasing. Before you toss away that dull-looking dollar, wait, because that tiny P mark on your 1979 Susan B. Anthony might just make you rich. Imagine holding a coin that millions once ignored, then realizing it might pay your next month's rent or even buy you a new car. That's the crazy truth behind the 1979 P. Susan B. Anthony dollar. When a U.S. Mint released it, people called it a failure. It looked too much like a quarter, and vending machines rejected it. Yet today, collectors are hunting for certain 1979 P pieces like buried treasure because a few tiny details separate a common coin worth $1 from one that's sold for over $15,000 at auction. The story begins in Philadelphia, the mint with no letter mark before 1980. Yet this coin proudly carries a bold P, the first U.S. coin ever to do so. It honored suffragist Susan B. Anthony, the first real woman ever placed on a circulating U.S. coin. That alone made history. But what truly shocked collectors was how quickly production quirks appeared. The mint struck millions using two different obverse dies, one with wide rim, near date, spacing, and another with narrow rim, far date. To an untrained eye, they look identical. To a coin expert, the difference can mean hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The wide rim/near date variety is the superstar. Only a fraction of all 1979 P dollars were made with this thicker rim, and most entered circulation unnoticed. When grading companies such as Peace GS or NGC certify one in mint state 67 or higher, prices skyrocket. Regular 1979 P examples hover around $1.25 to $3, but the elite wide rim coins can command $1,000 to $7,500, and pristine specimens with flawless luster have fetched over $15,000. Imagine finding that in an old roll of dollars or a forgotten bank envelope. What makes these small differences so valuable? Rarity plus condition. During mass production, minor die changes altered the rim spacing. Only early test strikes received the thick border, and by the time the mint adjusted, millions of thin rim coins had flooded the market. That ratio, roughly one wide rim per several hundred narrow rim, created scarcity, and scarcity fuels collector obsession. Now at grading. A coin's grade ranges from 1 to 70. Most circulated dollars grade 40 or below, but a coin stored since 1979 in a mint-sealed set can remain stunningly sharp. Under bright light, you'll see the mirror-like fields, the frosty texture on Susan's face, and those crisp eagle feathers on a reverse landing on the moon, a nod to America's Apollo heritage. If a professional grader labels it MS 68 or proof-like, the bidding war begins. But there's more shock hiding inside these coins. Some 1979 P strikes exhibit planchet errors, off-center strikes, or die clashes where details from one side ghost onto the other. An off-center strike showing half of Susan's portrait can sell for $1,500 or more. A double die obverse showing a shadowed Liberty or In God We Trust might top $3,000. Collectors love mistakes because the mint hates them. Even ordinary examples are gaining traction. After decades of disinterest, the Anthony Dollar series is finally recognized as the bridge between the Eisenhower and Sacagawea dollars. Demand for complete date and mint sets has exploded, meaning even circulated 1979 P pieces are worth more than face value when part of a match collection. Coin dealers report rolls selling for $40 or more, 40 times their original price. The backstory makes the coin even more fascinating. The mint intended it as a practical replacement for the bulky Eisenhower dollar. Americans, however, weren't ready for change, literally. People confused it with quarters, and it vanished into drawers. But those forgotten drawers became time capsules. Decades later, collectors opened them to discover nearly untouched dollars with blazing mint shine. That's why today, uncirculated 1979 P coins from original government sets are prized finds. So, how do you know if your coin is the valuable kind? Flip it under strong light. Check the rim thickness. Does the outer ring nearly touch the numbers in the date? That's the near date/wide rim treasure. If the rim seems thinner with more space, it's the common variety, but still worth checking for condition or errors. And always look for that crispy mint mark above Susan's shoulder. It distinguishes Philadelphia's historic first use of a lettered mint mark on a circulation coin. Here's where values climb sharply. Regular strike MS, 65, $15 to $30. Wide rim MS, 66, $600 to $1,200. Wide rim MS, 67, $3,000 to $7,500. Exceptional proof like MS, 68, up to $15,000 or more. That's right. One flawless coin could equal a small fortune. Collectors also hunt for the Type 1 and Type 2 reverse eagles, slight design differences that add yet another layer of intrigue. And if your coin shows any doubling or planchet split, professional authentication could reveal a life-changing surprise. Every coin tells a story, and this one's story is redemption. The 1979 P. Susan B. Anthony began as a failed experiment, but transformed into a collectible marvel. It celebrates a pioneer of women's rights, the spirit of space exploration, and the unpredictable magic of numismatics, where one overlooked detail can turn pocket change into profit. So before you spend that old dollar, look again. The small silver disc you're holding might be worth hundreds or even thousands. Somewhere out there, another wide-rim 1979 P is waiting to be discovered, perhaps in your own coin jar, whispering its shocking secret. I'm not just a dollar. I'm history worth a fortune. The 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar is one of those coins that looks innocent until you realize what's hiding behind its ordinary face. This D mint mark from Denver might seem common, but beneath that copper-nickel surface lies one of the most surprising stories in U.S. coinage. Believe it or not, certain 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollars have shocked collectors by reaching values of $5,000, $10,000, and even higher at major coin auctions. Yes, the same coin that millions once dismissed as pocket change is now being hunted across America like buried treasure. When the Denver Mint struck these coins in 1979, production quality was sharp, efficient, and precise. Yet a few rare minting flaws slipped through, and that's where the magic begins. Out of over 288 million coins struck with the D mint mark, a handful show fascinating variations. From double strikes to dramatic offsetter errors, each imperfection tells a story of a machine malfunction that accidentally produced a collector's dream. To the naked eye, a 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar might look just like its Philadelphia counterpart, bright, silvery, and quarter-sized. But here's what sets it apart. Denver used different dies, striking the coin slightly deeper, giving it a bold rim and sharper design details. On well-preserved coins, you can see Susan's cheek and hair strands in incredible detail. If your coin glows with full mint luster and no scratches, you may have something worth grading. And that's where the big numbers appear. Grading transforms an ordinary coin into a high-value collectible. Coins rated MS 66 or MS 67, mint state, can fetch $200 to $800, but if you hold one that's virtually perfect, MS 68, you could be looking at $4,000 to $10,000, depending on the buyer and auction house. And that's not even counting error coins, which can skyrocket beyond expectations. Let's talk about those errors, because that's where the real shock factor kicks in. One of the most desirable varieties is the 1979 D double die obverse, where you can see ghost-like doubling on the words Liberty or In God We Trust. These were caused by slight shifts during die creation. Depending on visibility and grade, These coins can reach $1,000 to $3,000. Then there are off-center strikes, where part of Susan's face is missing or cut off. Those could be worth $2,500 or more, depending on how dramatic the misalignment is. A particularly fascinating type of error found on the 1979 D is the clipped planchet, where a small portion of the coin's edge is missing, appearing as a clean bite. These are genuine minting errors, not damage, and collectors pay big for them, sometimes $1,000 plus for a clean example. Combine that with a high grade, and you could have one of the most valuable modern dollars ever made. But it's not just about mistakes. The condition of regular strikes matters too. Denver coins were often distributed in the western United States, where fewer coins stayed in mint condition. Most were spent, scratched, and dented in circulation. So when collectors find an untouched example with full luster, perfect rim, and deep details, the competition gets fierce. Certified slabs marked MS 67 top pop, meaning one of the highest graded examples known, have seen bidding wars reaching 5 figures. Even the story of its creation adds to its intrigue. The U.S. Mint introduced the Susan B. Anthony dollar to honor the legendary activist for women's rights and to modernize the dollar system. But the public wasn't impressed. Many refused to use them because they looked too much like quarters. The coin flopped in circulation, but thrived in history. Today, that same rejection is what gives it its mystique. Millions were stored away, and decades later, collectors rediscovered them in brilliant, uncirculated rolls. And here's a detail that makes the 1979 D coin even more fascinating. The reverse design, featuring the eagle landing on the moon, is identical to that of the Eisenhower dollar, creating a symbolic connection between two eras, the space age and the fight for equality. The fine details of the eagle's feathers and the lunar surface make grading crucial because sharper strikes display those features in stunning depth, dramatically affecting value. Let's break down typical price ranges to see how wild this gets. Circulated 1979 D, $1.25 to $3. Uncirculated MS 63.10 to $25. High mint state MS 66.200 to $500. Exceptional MS 67 or better, $1,000 to $10,000 plus. Major errors, off-center, double die, planchet $1,500 to $5,000 plus. So, even a coin that looks ordinary could hide serious value. Always check with magnification. Look for doubling, rim irregularities, or misalignments around the lettering and stars. The tiny D mint mark, placed just above Susan's shoulder, is your key to identifying the Denver issue. Collectors are also obsessed with strike quality. Denver's coins often have deeper strikes, giving a more pronounced 3D look. When viewed under bright light, a high-grade example seems to sparkle, with Susan's features looking almost lifelike. These coins in brilliant condition are true eye-catchers, making them favorite display pieces in graded sets. Beyond money, this coin carries powerful symbolism. It represents the first time a real woman, not a fictional or allegorical one, was placed on circulating U.S. currency. The D mint mark stands for Denver, but it might as well stand for determination because Susan B. Anthony herself stood for that word. Every collector who holds one of these coins isn't just holding a dollar. They're holding a piece of progress, history, and revolution in metal form. So, if you ever come across a 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar in your collection, take a moment. Look at it under light, feel its weight, and check every millimeter. You might discover doubling on the letters, an extra rim thickness, or even a minting flaw that turns it into a jackpot coin. Some of the most valuable ones ever found came from ordinary coin rolls or forgotten bank bags. And remember, collectors and investors are paying attention now more than ever. The market for these failed dollars is booming. What once was ignored is now adored. The 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar has risen from the shadows of disappointment to the spotlight of fame, proving that even the smallest details can turn a dollar into a dream. So before you spend it, stop and stare. That D on your Susan B. Anthony coin could be the difference between a single dollar and a small fortune. Imagine holding the same 1979 P. Susan B. Anthony dollar that millions once ignored, but this time it's not just another coin. It's a hidden fortune, a small metal circle that could shock the world with its value. This isn't the same common dollar you might find at a bank or in loose change. This is the special 1979 P version that hides extreme rarity, unbelievable condition grades, and minting errors so scarce that some collectors have paid over $20,000 just to own one. Sound crazy, right? But the truth behind this coin will absolutely stun you. When a U.S. Mint launched the Susan B. Anthony dollar in 1979, no one could have predicted how controversial and eventually collectible it would become. This was America's first small-sized dollar coin and the first to feature a real woman in U.S. coinage history. It symbolized progress and equality, but in daily life, it became misunderstood. People confused it with quarters, vending machines rejected it, and banks piled them up. What was once seen as a design flop has now turned into one of the most hunted treasures in modern coin collecting, especially the 1979 P. The P mint mark, stamped from the Philadelphia Mint, carries a legacy of innovation. It was the first year the Mint placed the P mark on circulating U.S. dollars, making it a historic first. But what truly sets this coin apart from others is the variety of minting differences and errors that make some versions worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars today. Let's begin with the wide rim / near-date variety. This subtle variation changed the entire coin market. On these rare pieces, the outer rim is thicker and the date is closer to the edge. Most people wouldn't even notice this difference, but collectors do, and they're willing to pay big for it. In ordinary grades, it might fetch $100 to $300, but in pristine MS 67 or MS 68 condition, these coins have been auctioned for over $10,000 to $15,000. One certified specimen by Piece GS even drew a 5-figure hammer price simply because of its flawless strike and mirror-like luster. Now, imagine another level of rarity, the proof-like strikes. Though Philadelphia didn't officially mint proofs for circulation, some early strikes came out with incredibly reflective surfaces due to freshly polished dies. These coins shimmer under light, showing mirrored backgrounds and frosted details. Only a few exist, and they can bring $2,000 to $8,000 or more, depending on grading. Collectors crave these unusual finishes because they blur the line between regular and proof coins. And then, of course, come the minting errors, the wild one-in-a-million mistakes that transform a common coin into a collector's fantasy. The 1979 P is known for dramatic blunders like off-center strikes, double die errors, clip planchets, and die cracks. One off-center example, missing 15% of the design sold for nearly $4,000. Another coin showing doubling in the word Liberty fetched $2,500. Even subtle die cracks, raised lines from aging dies, can attract heavy bidding when they appear boldly across Susan's portrait. And here's where it gets even more shocking. Some 1979 P. Susan B. Anthony dollars were accidentally struck on the wrong planchet, a Susan B. Anthony design on a nickel or quarter blank. These hybrid errors are extremely rare, often selling for $10,000 to $20,000, and they prove just how unpredictable the minting process can be. So, if you're holding a 1979 P coin right now, what should you look for? Start by inspecting the rim. If it's thicker, with the date closer to the edge, you might have the famous wide rim variety. Then, tilt the coin under bright light. If the surfaces flash like a mirror, it could be a proof-like strike. Finally, check the mint mark's position, the small P just above Susan's shoulder, and scan the letters for any doubling. These tiny details can transform your coin from pocket change to powerhouse. Here's how values break down for different categories. Common narrow rim 1979 P, $1.25 to $5. Wide rim MS 65, $100 to $300. Wide rim MS 67/MS 68, $3,000 to $15,000 plus. Proof-like strikes $2,000 to $8,000. Major mint errors: off-center, double die, wrong planchet $4,000 to $20,000 plus. Collectors love this coin for another reason. It bridges two major transitions: the end of the large Eisenhower dollar and the beginning of America's small and modern dollar coinage. It's a symbol of change, literally and historically. The eagle landing on the moon on the reverse connects it to the Apollo missions, while Susan B. Anthony on the obverse connects it to the fight for equality. That mix of technology, history, and social movement makes this coin emotionally and financially valuable. High-grade coins with booming luster and sharp strike details are rare because Philadelphia's mass production often caused weak edges or dull finishes. Finding one with bold hair details, clean fields, and no bag marks is like finding a needle in a haystack. And that's why grading matters. A jump from MS 66 to MS 68 can mean the difference between $500 and $10,000. That's why collectors send these coins to top grading services like PCGS and NGC, where the best examples are sealed forever in protective slabs. But beyond all the market talk and money, the 1979 P. Susan B. Anthony dollar is a story of redemption. A coin mocked in its early days is now celebrated, admired, and cherished. It reminds collectors that beauty and value often hide in plain sight. The same coin people once ignored at checkout counters now commands attention in glass display cases and auction rooms around the world. Its legacy proves that timing, rarity, and patience can turn even the most ordinary objects into legends. So, next time you come across a Susan B. Anthony dollar, pause for a second. Don't just see it as a dull piece of metal. See it as a piece of American history. That P mint mark could be your golden ticket. With the right combination of variety, condition, and luck, it might just change your life. Somewhere in an old drawer or a forgotten jar, there's another 1979 P. Susan B. Anthony dollar waiting to shock its owner. Proof that even a single dollar could be worth a fortune when it carries the weight of history and a hint of mystery.